All right, welcome back to another episode of Walk-Ins Welcome. I am your host and my co-host here, Michael Ray. I'm Nick Ward. We're excited to talk to you today about all things urgent care clinics. As always, we're here to help you land more clients, provide better service, and triple your revenue through digital marketing services. Love to have a guest with us today. Michael, what's up, man?
Absolutely. We have today Brenda Bates with American Family Urgent Care out of Raleigh, Midtown. She's kind of the unicorn of the world. She's been a nurse for 27 years. But back in her 40s, she went back and got a degree in business and focused on the healthcare administration side. And now she is the Midtown Mama Bear that we have mentioned in the past.
That's right.
Here she is live, Brenda Bates. Welcome aboard. Good to see you.
Brenda, welcome to the podcast.
Guys.
Oh, she's turned off those notifications.
Hey,
It was my phone. Sorry. I thought I had everything off but my phone.
Hey, that's how it goes. Hey, we're glad to have you on the podcast today.
I
Say
apologize
hello.
for that, everybody.
You don't have to worry about it. Say hello to the Walk-Ins Welcome Nation and tell us one thing that surprised you about the urgent care business.
Well, I've been doing this a long time. Urgent cares too, so not a whole lot surprises me
Seen it all.
anymore. But you guys are a surprise for me when I found you guys online. Walk-Ins Welcome. As I told you before we started recording, you guys give away a lot of valuable free information on your podcast. I know they can go hire you, which I recommend they do. But even if they can't, just listening to your podcast gives them a lot of valuable tools that they can use in their urgent care. So
we already got a plug in the first 30 seconds.
I'm going to write that up as some kind of a review.
Right, let's get a Google review out of that real quick.
Right.
So,
hey, we can do that.
Absolutely. Well, Brenda, I know, so for all of our guests that come on, they send us some information about things they'd like to discuss. And this is a turn for us, right? This is less about the marketing, but more about the leadership inside your clinic. Because you had mentioned things in here, like you want to make sure you value the people that are working hard for you and things like that. And trying to keep them is so difficult, but important. But at the end of the day, on this episode, we want to talk about you're in it every single day from a leadership standpoint in front of an urgent care. And so kind of give us the nuggets, give us the things that people should be noticing and should be doing to make their leadership more effective inside their clinic.
Well, the biggest thing for me, when Greg interviewed me, he's my owner. You guys have talked about him before with the Business First episode. Right. When he interviewed me, one of the top questions he asked me is, what's more important, staff or patients? And my immediate answer was staff.
Yeah.
Didn't even have to think about it twice.
Good answer.
And he agrees with me, and he was like, well, why? And I was like, well, I'm old school way of thinking. If you take care of your team will take care of your business.
Yep.
And
100%.
I've been a nurse for a long time, and all my experience has been in some sort of office setting, whether it's primary care, internal medicine, urgent care. And I've worked under a lot of different managers. Most of them are always business, so they don't have any clinical knowledge, which is really hard to do if you're running a medical clinic. First of all, being a manager, if you don't have coverage, you've got to step in. And if you don't have that clinical knowledge, then you're just leaving your whole team screwed.
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's just the way I believe. Maybe not a lot of people may disagree with me, but in management, any job, if you're the manager and you don't have staff, who covers? You do.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to serve a patient if there's no staff available. And
impossible.
Then, well, right?
Right.
Your business doesn't exist without people to a certain degree. And so, I mean, especially in the medical side, there has to be a nurse and a doctor and so forth. And that has to happen. And if they're upset or don't like working for you, the patients will feel that very quickly.
Absolutely.
And then your business will suffer shortly after.
And in that, also through all those years, I learned things that I did not want to do as a manager. The biggest drive for me to go back to school in my 40s was basically I got to thinking, do I want to be running the floors in my 60s as a nurse? And I was like,
oh, yeah.
No. But I wanted to stay in healthcare because I love it. So I went back to school and got that degree, and then I got this opportunity. And my goal was always to be a different kind of manager. Putting the employees first, making sure that they always know that they are appreciated, that they are needed, and that they're protected. The protection part is a big one because customers, not just patients, just in general, especially post-COVID, have gotten more demanding, more entitled, and just they expect more. They expect to get exactly what they want, whether that's the recommendation of the doctor or not.
Right.
And it just doesn't work that way. And your team needs to know if they're going to do their best, they have to know that you have their back.
Yep.
And that was one of the things I told Greg in our interview. I said, when it comes to that, I am not of the thinking that as long as they're paying their bills and we're getting their money, they can talk to the team any way they want. I said, nobody here makes enough money to put up with verbal abuse.
Right. Yep.
And customers will come and go, but I don't want a team that comes and goes. I don't want staff rotating through because they're not treated fairly. So my goal is to get good people and to keep them. And the team I have right now, most of them have been here since we opened, August 20th of 21. And they're awesome. They call me my Midtown Mama Bear. First Boss's Day, they got me a teddy bear with a Midtown Mama Bear t-shirt on.
You got to hold it up for the YouTubers.
For the YouTube people, go to YouTube. Come look at this Mama Bear, Midtown Mama Bear cool. Stuffed animal. There you go.
It sits in my window and everybody walks by and sees it. I'm very proud of that. But I've had my staff tell me, like, Brenda, if I'm not leaving unless you leave. I had a nurse practitioner that worked at one of the major hospitals. He was an RN there for a long time, became a nurse practitioner. We hired him brand new and trained him and so forth. And I won't say the hospital, but sorry about that.
That's okay.
They actually asked him how much they would have to give him to come back and be a nurse practitioner with them. And he told them, I am so happy where I'm at, I have no intention of leaving anytime.
So I want to dig into that a little bit. He's so happy where he's at. He doesn't want to go. So money was not the deciding factor for his happiness. Like we talk about that in the past of, you could pay somebody all this money in the world, but if they're miserable, they're going to be miserable and they're going to leave eventually anyway, because no money can fix that.
Right.
But let's talk about.
Yeah, as a nurse, I left jobs taking $5 an hour pay cuts for my own mental health. When you're younger, it's all about the money. As you get older, you learn that not everything is about money. Yes, it's a necessity to live, but it's more about, when you go to work, are you happy? Do you feel fulfilled? Are you being respected and taken care of? And that is how I look at it here. My team comes first, and I will have their backs. I've had their backs against Greg in arguments and discussions. Nothing bad. But
Greg, don't listen to that.
Yeah, disregard that. You know what
I told Greg in the beginning, if you're looking for a yes woman, I'm not it.
You hold up the bear that your team gave you. You talk about staff members that are like, I'm with you. It reminds me that management is a title that's given to you. Leadership is earned. Yeah. Leadership is earned. And the fact that your team recognizes that in you, it's not a demand of you, it's something that they see in you. What are you doing that is giving them the confidence in your leadership? Let me ask you it this way. What does that look like on a daily basis? Yeah.
What are these things that, like, if I work for you, I say, heck yeah, Mama Bear's got my back.
Yeah.
Anything. It can be as simple as my office is right behind the front desk, and if I see them talking to someone and working with a patient and the phone's ringing, I'll just pick up the phone. I just answer the phone. And I can see the schedule and I know who's back there, and if I see we're getting busy or something's up and I can take care of it real quick, a nurse visit or something, I'll run back and do it. They don't have to ask me, but they know they can.
Right.
But they don't have to. I just jump in and help. Like one day, we have 5 bathrooms in this place. One day, all 5, we had a sewer clog out before it got to the road.
Yeah, that's brutal.
So when you flush the toilet, it all backed up through our floors.
Oh.
We have drains in our floor. So once they got the clog fixed, guess who had to go in and mop all that and clean it up? Mama Bear did.
I think it's called servant leadership or maybe sewer leadership.
That's right.
And I told him that day, I said, don't ever say that I will not get down and dirty and do for from you guys.
Don't ever say I won't clean up your.
Well, so that's
Yeah,
the point of
really,
it.
seriously.
I mean,
and
people are
5
watching what
bathrooms
you're
of
doing.
it.
Yeah, people are watching what you're doing, not listening to what you're saying.
Right. I look at it as if you have to come out and tell somebody, look, I'm the boss and what I say goes, do it this way, then you're not effective. You should never
Right.
have to announce you're the boss.
Yeah.
You should carry that presence and that, and not really an attitude, but you can be their boss and still be their friend, so to speak.
Right.
My friend Des told me that. She said, yeah, we're friends, we talk. She said, but I also know you're my boss.
Right.
And I had to throw somebody out one day that was giving her a hard time at the front desk, and she turned around and she's like, Brenda, thank you. She says, it's nice to know that there's a manager that won't allow us to be abused like that. And I said, absolutely not. I said, we'll get
Right.
another patient to replace that one. I said, I don't want to have to replace you.
There you go.
It reminds me of a story of the guy that is a boss and a leader and has to wear 2 hats. One is his hat, I'm your friend, and the other one is I'm your boss. And he goes, hey, I'm going to put my boss hat on. Your performance sucks and you're fired. Hold on, let me take that off. Hey, I just heard you got fired. How you doing? Switch the hats and be like, hey, what can I do to support you right now? Because that really sucks. But that's
That
just
is
it.
a hard one.
You wear
The
multiple
first time I
hats
had
in
to do
leadership.
that. It's hard.
Yeah.
And I actually have I had a staff member ask me, she's like, Miss Brenda, you're so nice. She's like, do you ever get mad? And I was like, oh yeah, honey. I said, I just learned over the years to tamp it down and control it. I said, but she's like, well, what do you like when you're mad? I said, well, you know how nice I am? They're like, yeah. And I said, multiply that by 100.
Right.
Because it takes me a lot to get there, but once I'm there.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Oh, me?
No, me.
Oh, it was like, I know.
I'm pretty nice. I'm more blunt than I probably should be, but
No, I'm blunt too. I prefer it that way.
Oh, anyway, but
I thought I had it off.
I know.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm relatively nice, but then once you get me to a point like I'm over this, I'm over it. Like, let's just keep going, like that type of thing. Of
Yeah, Michael will come in and it's like, Nick, it's time to break stuff.
yeah, it's like I'm ready to fire somebody. Let's go.
Once you're there, you're gone.
I'll have some of my staff come in and shut the door and just start venting, and it has nothing to do with work. It could be their personal life. Something happened and they don't have anybody to really else talk to about, and they'll come in, they'll vent, and when they're done, I look at them and I'm like, so do you want advice or did you just want somebody to listen?
I have to ask my wife that every time she has a conversation with me, so I feel like
Yeah.
yeah, it's always
And
just
if they ask, and they know not to ask me for advice unless they really want the truth.
So I will
Because
tell
it
you
won't necessarily be what they want to hear.
that is incredible that you have the vision to do that, because I had a very wise person tell me that unasked for advice is criticism.
Yes.
And it'll be received that way. So if you go, hey, do you want advice? Yes. Okay, you open the door. Here we go.
Yep. So
I learned that a long time ago.
Right. That's right.
So how would you just so we talk about culture a good bit on this podcast. How would you describe the culture at your office?
We're a family, and I know a lot of people say that. And in all the offices I worked in, what I tell people is you're always generally friendly with your office staff, regardless of who it is. You'll hang out at work and you'll chit chat and laugh. But once you leave, you really don't see those people again until the next time you work with them. My staff actually hang out together on the weekends.
That's
I
cool.
have my PA and one of the gentlemen that works at my front desk. They'll go out and play golf together, maybe go have a drink. Some of my front desk and my x-ray tech will go out to have a drink. I mean, they hang out together after work. So it really is a family. And we look at it that way, and that's how we want to keep it. And I'm very protective over my culture. Part of my interview process, once they pass the in-person interview with me, it is required that they must do a minimum 1 hour shadow interview with my team.
I like that.
Describe that. Go in more detail about that.
They have to come in and literally they go back. They don't actually have to work unless they want to, and some of them do. They go back and literally they'll shadow, like if it's an x-ray person, they'll shadow that x-ray person or whatever. And they'll shadow that person while they're rooming, while they're doing testing, everything. And I tell them point blank when I'm doing their interview, I said, this part of the process is just to make sure that you're going to get along with my team.
Nice.
I said, because the team I have, has been here now with me through the beginning. They've been through a lot with me, and they've stuck through it. I said, and I am very protective of them. I said, they have a fantastic work ethic. They're great with the patients. I said, so I'm not going to lose them for anybody. I said, so after this point, the decision is up to my team.
There you go.
There you go.
And that's one way you protect it, for sure.
Yeah, that'll protect the culture and
very
empower
upfront
your
and
team.
honest with them about that.
Yeah.
And the team knows that, and they'll come tell me afterwards, no, that one ain't going to work, or they'll be like, oh no, we really like this one, and they know that I tell them that. It's not a hidden thing. I tell other clinic owners when they ask me about advice on clinic operations, different things, I tell them that's my process. They're like, huh? And my medical director thought it was awesome. He's like, oh, I'm going to start recommending this to the rest of my clinics. And I said,
awesome.
well, if you want to protect the people that you have and keep them, you've got to.
In a leadership role, you also have to dance the line of making difficult decisions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that you incorporate that with the culture of family and still maintain a level of excellence when people are not meeting that standard of excellence? How do you lead through that difficulty?
Well, I'm a very nice person, and I believe in second chances, third chances. We had an MA not long ago. She started with us from the beginning. She was younger, and I really just kind of took her under my wing, trying to help build her up. Part of her thing was lack of confidence, and I did that for like a year and a half, and didn't see a lot of growth, and I just had to talk to her. I was like, look, I've been trying. I've been working with you personally. I've actually let you slide on some things that probably shouldn't have, to the fact that the other team members are a little upset with me about it. They feel like I let you get away with stuff. I said, but it stops here. And, that person actually tried to kind of hold me over a barrel and was trying to tell me they were going to quit. And I was like, no, that's okay. Go ahead and pack your stuff. You're good. And the biggest thing that they said when they finally decided they were going to leave was that they didn't feel like they fit in anymore.
Right.
Or at the beginning ever.
MA did not have the work ethic that the rest of the team had.
Well, I know for us, one of the things early on as a young entrepreneur, younger business owner, not young in age, but just new to being a new business owner, right? Mm-hmm. Was understanding that, there's people that you keep on way too long that are causing damage to the people that you really count on, right?
Exactly.
And that's the challenge in leadership is knowing, you take your time and get the right person in there, but if they raise their hand and say, I'm not the right person, you got to go. Yeah. And that's the dance, right? That's that leadership line of, do I treat you like family, or do I move into this approach where I really want a team of people? You're accountable. I love you. I'm going to hold you accountable. And when you're not accountable, you're off the team.
Yep. And that's what I told her. I said, I've tried. I said, I've gave you more than enough chances. Every one of my staff could testify that I go above and beyond as a manager, as well as just a friend and a person. Even on personal levels, I've went above and beyond to help them with things. And they know that. And I think that's part of why they're so dedicated and loyal to me. And not just me, but the clinic, AFC, but I have other owners that have come and asked me, how do you get the kind of loyalty out of people that you have in your staff?
Right.
And, I'm just like, well, I don't really know what to tell you other than it's how you treat them. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, if you want respect, you have to give it back. And I know some clinic owners, we all have video cameras for safety reasons. But some owners actually have microphones in their clinics. Listening to stuff, and, if I was a staff member and I knew my owners were listening to everything I said, I wouldn't work there.
Right.
I just wouldn't. Because not that I'd be afraid I'd say something wrong, but we all blow off steam. We tell jokes. We do things that, the owners might not find so pleasing, but it's not bad. It's just blowing off steam.
Right.
And, when you call them out on that, and they're like, well, how did you know? Well, you've been listening to their conversations. Well, you've invaded their personal privacy, because what if they were talking about something personal with a coworker?
Well, another section of leadership is trust, right?
Yeah. And that's what I told them. I said, you're not going to get loyalty like that. I said, because that shows right there you don't trust anybody.
Nope,
And
not
I
at all.
said, they happen to be physician and physician. I said, well, and I'll also tell you, and I said, please don't get mad. I said, but as doing this, as long as I have, doctors and owners do not make good managers. Plain and simple.
I have no comment.
My comment is
that.
simply we work with a lot of medical practices, and we like working with the administrators when we can.
Well, it's not even just that. I mean,
They
look
just
at
don't.
me.
Well, and it's not even so much their fault sometimes. They just look at things differently.
They do, and their focus is on the patient and not so much the vendor
The business
relationship.
side of it. Or like for Greg, he's more focused on the business side because that's what he knows best.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and he'll come in and try to talk to me and it's like, okay, Brenda, take off your clinical hat, put on your business hat.
Right.
I told him, I said, well, I can't because for me, that's who I am. So
Right.
after 27 years, I don't say nursing's a job. It's just who I am.
That's right. I agree with
Yeah.
that, and I think that's fantastic.
Midtown Mama
I
Bear
love
the
what I
nurse.
do. I love
That's right.
people. You know, I don't know a stranger. You know, and I teach my team that. I tell them when we had post-COVID customers, patients, whatever you want to call them in any business, have just gotten out of control.
Restaurants.
And I tell
We're
my
looking at
team,
you,
don't
restaurants.
Huh?
So we're looking at you, restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I tell my team, you know, when you have a difficult patient, the first two things you need to remember is one, why did you get into healthcare? It's the most cliche answer of all, but it's the truth. You want to help people. And the second thing is hurting people hurt people. And why are they coming to an urgent care? Because they're hurt in some way.
Yep.
I mean, they're already in a bad position, right? Like
Right.
they're in pain. They're not feeling
Yeah,
good.
and, you know, I said, think about when you don't feel good. You're grumpy, you snap at people, you know. I said, so as long as they're just being grumpy, just keep smiling and do your job. I said, but now if they get personal, come get me.
There you
I'll
go.
take it from there.
I love the very first thing that you said. When you're having a bad day, you're struggling through a situation, remember what got you into healthcare. I have a sign. You can't see it. Audience can't see it, but right above my head. Michael, what does that say?
Remember why you started.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you just have to keep in the back of your mind. Now, I'm not going to get into this podcast all of my whys, but the point is like I can look at that sign at any time and go back to the point where Patient Care Marketing Pro started.
Yeah. You know, Greg and I have disagreements. I told him in the beginning, I'm not a yes woman. I'll always be honest with you, even if I disagree, but I'll do it respectfully.
Yes.
You know, but I told him, I said, you know, ultimately, as long as it doesn't affect patient care or my nursing license, even if we disagree, I'd do what he told me. I said, but, you know, I'm just out to make sure the patients are cared for properly and my staff has everything they need. You know, that's
So-
my job, is to make sure they have everything they need to do their job at the highest level.
There are all different kinds of people that listen to this podcast in the urgent care space. You have people like yourself that are in a leadership role but don't own it. You have owners that are business people like Greg, owns the American Family Care franchise. And then you have doctors who own their business. All these different caveats, different approaches to the same thing. We're trying to serve people in the medical space through urgent care clinics, right? How do you bridge the gap in your specific role? Talk to the people on the podcast that don't own it, but have a high degree of responsibility, and to them, they do own it, right? Like, you strike
and
me,
that's why I
Brenda,
tell-
like, this is my clinic just as much as it is Greg's,
Like
right?
my name may not be on it,
Right.
but I'm involved in every step of the way.
Talk to
Well, I
that
told him, I
person
said,
about
you
bridging
may
the
own
gap.
it financially, I said, but I own it every other way.
Yeah.
I
You know, because-
love it when my team has that level of ownership in the things that they do in the company. And I gladly give them that ownership, by the way. That's the hard part that owners
that's what I
don't do.
tell other owners
Yeah.
when they ask me for help. I said, first of all, if you hire a CA, you need to trust them to do what you've hired them to do.
Right.
I said, if you're questioning everything, micromanaging everything, you don't trust them, they're going to feel that, they're going to get annoyed with you, and it's just not going to be a good relationship.
Right.
You know, I said, you both have to learn to be honest with each other and not get mad if it's not what you want to hear. It's a business. It's not personal. It's business. You know, and when I've had to fire somebody, I was like, look, personally, I like you on a personal level. We could go out to dinner after this. But this is business.
Yeah.
You're not doing what you're supposed to do. You've had plenty of chances, and we can't do it anymore.
How many chances in your mind are too many chances? I'm wondering that just myself.
Well, it just depends on the person and the situation, like what kind of mistake they made.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a significant one, that could be all it takes. But if it's minor things, we'll do some retraining, but I don't expect the same mistake to keep being repeating. Then we have a problem.
Gotcha.
And that's when I'm like, oh, no. But they know too, even when I have to bring correction, they've never seen me yell at them. They've never seen me cuss at them. The only time I cuss is if I'm telling a joke or just carrying on.
There you go.
But I don't cuss them, and I don't address them in any disrespectful way. I'm just like, look, that's not how it's supposed to be done. This is how it's supposed to be done. Now let's do it this way. And I've even had to do that with my providers.
Well, I was going to say,
sometimes it's even harder because, providers, in most instances, providers tend to think that they run the clinic.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they have no financial, money in the game. They think, my providers don't. I have amazing providers. But in general, I've seen that. They think they run the clinic because they're the ones bringing in the patients and the money.
Right.
And in here, what it is I run the clinic. They are in charge of patient care.
Right.
So for
if they ever understand that, though, if they ever understand that, there's freedom in that.
Well, and mine do. I'm very, very blessed with my providers. I have a PA and an NP. And they do. They know that. When it comes to patient care back there, I pretty much let them run the show. They do what they need to do to take care of the patients. If it comes to operational things or changes or something like that, then I step in and take control. And I've had to tell, there's been instances where I've had to say, sorry, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it like this. End of discussion. And but it's cool. They may not like it, but they'll be like, okay. And we're fine. We're not like mad at each other for days or nothing like that. We go right back to carrying on. Right. Because they know if I get to that point where I have to say, all right, we've already talked about this. This is how we're going to do it. That they know I've had enough because I don't usually say things like that. So if I have to mandate, this is how we're going to do it, they know I mean business.
Right.
So I think if I could sum up your style, it's caring but firm.
Right.
In a nutshell. Caring, firm, and fun.
And fun.
Yeah, caring, we definitely have fun here. I actually got a sign I'm going to hang it over my office that says you do not have to be crazy to work here. We will train you.
Oh, that's there you go. Oh, I love it.
That is how you wrap up an episode of Walk-Ins Welcome.
Yeah, well, that's how you do it. We're about to hit 30 minutes, so this is a perfect little ending piece right here. So I love it.
Well, Brenda, I can speak for the whole audience, and definitely on this side of the video camera. I've enjoyed talking with you. I've enjoyed getting to know you. I love the Mama Bear. It's so endearing, and you don't just get that. Like, no,
I didn't give myself that name at all.
Yeah, right. Well, no, it's again that type of endearment is earned, not given.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So,
my friend, this girl tells her daughter that I'm Grandma Mama Bear.
That's
fantastic.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Well, Brenda, Grandma Mama Bear.
There you go.
Give the audience one last. What is your favorite leadership principle that you put into play, and then we'll take it out from there.
Just honestly, it's treat your people how you would want to be treated. When I was a nurse, the biggest things for me were I never heard from my managers unless I made a mistake. I never heard thank you. I never heard I appreciate that. I never heard, hey, I saw that you went above and beyond for that patient. Thank you. There was never any of that. And then, like I said, patients could cuss you, whatever, and, they didn't care. They were just like, oh, just shake it off. They paid their bill. And, I don't agree with that at all.
Right.
You have to give them what you want to see. If you want to see them work hard, you have to make sure they know they are appreciated. My staff can come in. Sometimes they'll see a thank you card on their desk or maybe a Starbucks gift card. Just something small. It's not a lot, but it lets them know that I see them and that I recognize their value here. And they know, like I said, when I went and cleaned up 5 shitty bathrooms. that I respect them, enough to let them do their job, and I'll go take care of the crap, literally. So
This episode brought to you by the color brown.
There you go. What can brown do for you?
Brenda, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. We've had Greg, who is the owner of your particular urgent care, on in the past. And if I knew nothing else about you, I know what he said about you. And that speaks volumes. We're so proud to know you, so proud to have you on the podcast. Yeah. Totally worth listening to.
I'm proud to be doing what I'm doing, and not only serving my community, but also my team.
There you go.
That's my job as a leader is, I'm not supposed to know everything. I hire the best at what they do and let them do it.
Don't be the smartest person in the room, right?
That's right.
Don't
crush that.
All right. Thank you, Brenda, for coming on. Thank you, audience, for listening in today. It's one of my more favorite episodes.
Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to spread a little bit of my Mama Bear love.
There you go, the Mama Bear love for sure. I love it. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Have a great week.
All right. Bye, everyone.